Hi, this is Jack Stanley, and I always pull this book out every December 30th. Since 2015, I've been doing it for a specific reason. And I want to tell you a story. This book I found in Mount Dora, Florida. And it was by chance. I was working at Disney at the time. And when I would have a day off, I would sit there and hop in my Volkswagen and drive around. They used to call it the rolling Easter egg at Disney. But I would drive my Volkswagen around and check out, yard sales and flea markets and stuff like that. And I found this flea market in Mount Dora, Florida. And I was wandering around and I found a seller who had tubs of material, and most of it seemed to be like from a house. It seemed like they cleaned out the whole house. Most of the stuff was kind of new and Tupperware and stuff like that. But there were a couple of pieces, including this, that didn't quite fit with everything else that was there. So I inquired, and I forget, it was like $30 or something like that. And it said Broadway programs. And so I bought it. And I bought one other thing. I bought a picture of a White Star liner that was there. Now, I read this book from cover to cover. It was a scrapbook. It was a family. It was the Williams family of Chicago. And it was filled with theater programs and all kinds of events and social events happening in Chicago from the 1890s through about 1910. It's chock full. And also, they went on trips. They went to New York City. And in New York, they went to tons of shows. And so there was tons of theater programs from New York. So it's fascinating. Getting to read it and study it, I discovered that there was an individual who stood out very strongly in the beginning of the scrapbook. His name was Howard Williams. And Howard was an amazing, precocious kid. I mean, I was reading some of the things that he did, and he gave these talks in front of his class, and this beautiful writing. And he would do poetry. He would do art. He also wrote letters to the President of the United States. He did countless things. He was really an amazing kid. And I was sitting there going, wow, this fella's really quite amazing. But then I found Howard disappeared. Well, I couldn't figure anything out. I couldn't find anything. There wasn't an internet at the time in 1990. And so after a few years of trying to figure things out, I kind of gave up. Go 25 years. The year is 2015, and I'm going to be moving to Chicago, of all places. I never dreamed I would be in Chicago. And, well, I took a couple of trips before I moved here, and one time I brought this book with me. And I showed it to my friend. His name was Terry Olds, and he passed away in 2019, but he was a fascinating individual. He was an author and had a wonderful sense for the written word, and also was a wonderful little detective. And as we went through the book, and he was the kind of person, when he focused on something, it was totally on that subject, and he would devour everything. And so after looking at it for a while, he said, Jack, I noticed something. I said, this is the same thing I noticed, Howard? He said, yeah. He vanishes. We can't figure out what happened. So that made me think. And that night, for the first time in 25 years, I tried to start figuring out who this family was. And so I typed in the computer Williams, and I used various members of the family, and it came up. And I found one of the daughters, and it talked about siblings. And then I found Howard Williams. And he said, victim of the Iroquois Theater fire, December 30th, 1903. And suddenly everything made sense about this book, because the way this book started was a memorial to Howard. Because it's not in any kind of chronological order. It's just everything that was his that they had. Obviously, they got rid of a lot of stuff too. But the interesting thing is all of his papers from school, letters that he wrote. He wrote letters to the president, as I mentioned, and stuff like that. All that stuff in here. And suddenly, this whole book kind of made sense. And then this made me study the Williams family, and all the members of the family. And it turned out his sister spent her last days in Florida, not too far from Mount Dora. And that's how I got the book. And this whole book came back with me to Chicago. I think that's really kind of amazing. And it's chock filled with all kinds of programs of Chicago theater. In fact, going all the way back, like they were going to talk to Flickers, early motion pictures, Biograph. They went to see William McKinley walk across the screen, and stuff like that. It's really amazing. But now that I know much more about the Iroquois Theater fire, the horrendous loss of life, Howard Williams, and how this book is a reflection on that event. Every December 30th, I bring it out, I look at it, and I remember one of the victims of that horrible, horrible event that took place 118 years ago today. So, thank you, Terry, for helping me figure this out. And thank you to the Williams family, who really taught me so much about the history of Chicago. And this someday should be in a very good place to preserve it, because it has so much history and so much important stuff dealing with theater and programs and events that made Chicago, Chicago in the end of the 19th and the very beginnings of the 20th. So to Howard, you were brilliant, you had a great chance, but you were just in the wrong place at the wrong time in that theater. That horrible theater, poorly designed, no exits per se, and just let everyone suffer in a terrible way due to greed and lack of concern. So, 118 years since that theater fire. I don't know the other victims, but Howard Williams has become kind of a part of my family. For these near 32 years, I've kind of had Howard around me. And it's kind of an interesting thing. So, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.